Can anyone in the NBA consistently solve the Steph Curry riddle? I mean, really stop him.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Because you think back earlier this season, right? Amen Thompson, the rookie, holds Steph to just 3 points. 3.
Yeah, that game definitely made waves. People were talking.
It felt like, okay, maybe that's the blueprint. Length, athleticism.
The formula.
But then, boom, this recent game against the Rockets, second seed in the West, tough defense, and that whole idea just kind of goes out the window.
It completely shattered, yeah. Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into this question that feels like it's bubbling up again. Is the NBA facing a Golden State Warriors problem?
Right. And you shared this really interesting analysis looking at that very Rockets game, focusing on Steph's performance.
Exactly. It gets right to the core of why this team, especially with Curry playing like this, keeps defying expectations. So our mission today really is to unpack why. Why does Steph Curry stay so potent, even when everyone knows he's the target? And what does that mean for the league?
Okay, let's start with that contrast then. The Amen Thompson game versus the Rockets game. The analysis brought up that Thompson matchup first, didn't it?
It did. It set the stage, highlighting how Thompson's defense led to that super low score, like you said, the supposed blueprint.
The initial thought was, okay, maybe this kind of defender is the key. A long, athletic guy.
Precisely. That was the thinking across a lot of breakdowns after that game. This specific physical profile, maybe that's the kryptonite, seemed validated for a moment there.
And then the Rockets game happens. What were the numbers again? 31 points?
31 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, and, get this, nearly 80% true shooting.
80%? That's just wild efficiency.
It's an absolute clinic. And remember, this is on the road.
Against a top-tier defense. Houston's no joke defensively.
Not at all. So it really makes you step back and ask, for the listeners thinking about this, what does it really tell you when a player can look contained, supposedly, in one game, and then just explode against very similar high-level competition shortly after? How do you square that?
It suggests maybe the blueprint isn't quite as solid as it looked.
Well, yeah. And it leads to this point the analysts made, which is pretty bold. They basically argued that when Steph's on his game, it makes no difference who is guarding him.
Okay, that sounds like a bit much, maybe. Hyperbole.
You'd think so. But then they start listing names. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Tatum, Brown, Horford. All guys known for D.
All elite defenders, guys who guarded him in the finals.
Right, in the highest pressure moments. And the argument is none of them consistently shut him down.
And the Rockets coach, Ime Udoka, he saw that Celtics defense struggle against Steph firsthand in those finals.
He did. So, knowing that history, seeing Curry solve puzzle after puzzle against top defenders, does that change how you, listening right now, think about any team's actual chances of stopping the Warriors when it really matters? Like in a 7-game series.
It has to give you pause, right? Because the Rockets definitely had a plan. The analysis said they were trying hard to limit his threes.
Oh, absolutely. That was the clear priority. Get physical, deny him space, run him off the line, everything you're supposed to do.
Standard Curry rules package, basically.
Exactly. But here's the fascinating part, and where the analysis really dug in. Steph didn't just, have an off night because they took away the 3. He adapted.
How so? What did he do differently?
He started attacking the rim. Really using his handle, which I think is still underrated, and his strength, which is also maybe a bit overlooked.
So not just settling for tough jumpers.
Not at all. He saw the overplay on the perimeter and punished it inside. The point being, he's not just the greatest shooter ever. When you sell out to stop that,
he beats you another way.
Precisely. He becomes this complete offensive weapon that forces impossible choices.
Did the analysis give specific examples of that?
Yeah, a few really good ones. There was a play where he had a switch on Dillon Brooks, who's a physical defender, used a quick screen, and then just his handle and speed. Brooks couldn't stay in front. Easy layup.
Okay.
Or even more impressive, maybe, was when Houston sent a hard double team way out high, like near half court, to stop the pull-up 3.
Yeah, standard tactic against him.
But he used their aggression, their momentum against them, split the 2 defenders, and just glided right to the basket for a score. It was beautiful.
Wow, just right between them.
And then there was another clip, him facing up Steven Adams, obviously a much bigger, stronger guy.
Yeah, massive dude.
30 feet out, and Steph just took him off the dribble, drove right past him for another layup.
30 feet out against Adams, that's confidence.
It speaks volumes about his driving ability now. So for listeners, I guess the question is, were you surprised to hear about Steph finding so much success inside the paint against a defense specifically trying to be physical? What does that adaptability tell you about his overall offensive game? It's not just shooting, is it?
No, clearly not. It makes him so much harder to guard. If you take away A, he hits you with B. If you try to stop B, he goes back to A or maybe C.
Exactly. But the analysis was also quick to point out he wasn't doing this all alone against the Rockets.
Right. There was another key player highlighted. Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler, yeah. Described in the piece as the, quote, second best player on the floor in that game. And honestly, maybe even 1B.
That's high praise, especially with Steph playing like that.
It is. And the analysts said they could easily spend just as much time breaking down Jimmy's impact. His stats were monster.
What did he end up with?
Let's see, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals, plus, the usual Jimmy stuff.
Yeah.
Elite defense, making big shots, great playmaking down the stretch, just a complete performance.
5 steals is disruptive.
Incredibly. And the main point here was having two guys operating at that level at the same time. It puts immense pressure on a defense. They can't double everyone. Someone's going to get a good look.
Yeah, the defense has to pick its poison, essentially.
Totally. And the analysis showed some great examples of Jimmy's all-around game, too.
Like what?
There was a defensive play, reading the pass, rotating perfectly to pick off an entry pass intended for Sengun in the post. Just anticipation.
Nice.
Then, pure hustle-stripping Sengun near midcourt as Sengun was trying to bring it up, and Jimmy just takes it all the way for a dunk. Momentum play.
Okay, yeah, that kills opposing runs.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then the playmaking. Pushing in transition, finds Podziemski, the rookie, wide open at the corner, drains the three.
Podzins has been solid.
Very. In another one, Ginny driving baseline, defense collapses, kicks it out to Santos in the other corner for another open three. Just finding the open man.
So it's not just his scoring, it's that vision too. How does having both him and Steph clicking like that, how does that warp the defense? What does it do to their strategy?
It creates what the analysis called gravity. Both guys command so much attention.
Right.
When Jimmy has the ball, defenders have to honor his drive, his shot, and his passing. That naturally help defenders away from other guys. Like, there was a play mentioned where Podziemski actually screened for Butler.
Interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, and both defenders went with Butler, trying to contain him, which left Podziemski completely alone, popping out, and he got another good look.
Yeah.
It's that constant dilemma. Who do you help off of? Steph. Jimmy. Good luck.
It sounds exhausting to defend for 48 minutes.
It has to be.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the offense that stood out. The analysis also made a really key point about the other end of the floor.
Defense.
Yeah. It highlighted that since the Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler, they've actually been the #1 defense in the league.
Number 1. Wow, okay. I knew they'd improve. But number 1.
Pretty significant jump. Right. And the point wasn't just about having two elite individual defenders in Jimmy and Draymond Green.
Although that certainly helps.
Oh, massively. But it stressed the collective basketball IQ, the defensive minds, as the analysis put it, of both Steph and Jimmy.
Steph's defensive IQ gets overlooked sometimes, I think.
It does. He's usually in the right spots, knows the schemes, and the argument is that having those two guys who are just so smart and understand rotations and tendencies elevates everyone else's defensive performance.
It's like they orchestrate things out there.
In a way, yeah. They mentioned Podziemski again as an example. A smart player, knows where to be, fits right into that intelligent defensive structure. The idea is, with Steph and Jimmy setting the tone and making the right reads, everyone else just needs to execute their role and be where they're supposed to be.
And offensively, it's the same logic. If Steph and Jimmy are drawing all the attention,
everyone else just needs to be ready, be in the right spot, because those two will find you if you're open. It simplifies the game for the role players.
So, thinking about that defensive improvement, the #1 ranking, does that change the whole story around the Warriors? For the listeners, does that make you see their potential differently now, knowing they can lock teams down too?
It adds a whole other layer, doesn't it? It's not just trying to outscore everyone anymore. They can grind out wins too.
Which brings us to their recent play. The analysis mentioned the play-in games, this first playoff game. Strong performances from both Steph and Jimmy when the lights were brightest.
Yep, consistently impactful. And it led the analysts to basically say, look, watching them operate together like this, at this level, they just can't bet against this duo.
That's a strong statement.
It is. So wrapping this all together, after hearing about Steph's adaptability, Jimmy's two-way dominance, and the impact on the whole team, are you, listening out there, feeling more confident about the Warriors' chances moving forward? Or maybe less, depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
Where do you stand now? So just to recap the key takeaways for everyone, this deep dive really showed us, first, Steph Curry is still Steph Curry, maybe even more dangerous now because he's beating defenses inside and out. His game keeps evolving.
Right. He's not just the shooter.
Exactly. And second, bringing in Jimmy Butler hasn't just added another star, it's created this two-way monster partnership that makes the whole team better. Offense flows, defense is number one. It's a powerful combination.
It really seems to be clicking. And that final thought from the analysis was basically, stop doubting Steph Curry. It usually doesn't end well for the doubters.
That very much sums it up, yeah.
So, considering all that, here's something to chew on. What long-held beliefs or assumptions about this Warriors team, maybe about their ceiling or their weaknesses, might we need to rethink now, seeing them play like this in the playoffs?
That is a great question to ponder. What are the limits now?
Definitely something to think about. If you found this dive into the Warriors' Steph and Jimmy fascinating, do us a favor and hit like, subscribe for more deep dives like this.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that. And let us know your thoughts. What do you think about the Warriors' chances? And seriously, answer that question we just posed. What assumptions need revisiting? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to read them.